Hello, my name's Tina MacDonald. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to talk today about loss, and I'm going to use it as a part one of a two-part video. So the second part, I'd like to take loss through the cycle and onto grief and have a look at the actual cycle of grief and how that works. Today's video to talk about loss is really to look at it in general terms, not specifically about losing a partner or losing a loved one. It's about loss in general. I feel that the times that we are in at the moment with the pandemic, lots of people are experiencing loss and might not realise the impact that it's having on them or on people that are in the home with them or in the workplace, because people are still going to work. So in general, I feel that loss is almost taking parts out of the grief cycle and that we're all trying to process it. So lots of different things, lots of different layers going on. So loss of routine, that's a massive thing for lots of people, myself included. I like to have a set routine, and it travels me through the day and through the week. I have a very busy week, so it gives me points of reference. So even in the very basic sense, I don't know anybody whose routine hasn't actually been affected. So even if you're going out to your work as you normally would, when you're there, there's social distancing, there's risk assessments, all of those things are going on, and everybody around you is not as they would normally be, because these are very different times. It's not normal times. So your loss of routine, whether it's you're working at home and you're feeling very isolated because you're not in amongst the office chat, working from home with children, working from home with partners also working from home or not working from home, worrying about the loss of wages, lots of different things that are affecting your routine, even in the very narrowest form. If you're used to being at home, you're disabled, or you're at home for other reasons and you're on your own, even your routine will feel different. If you wanted to just go out for a walk and sit on the beach for an hour, you can no longer do that. If you wanted to, just pop into a neighbour's for a coffee, even just once a month, you can no longer do that. So for whatever the extremes, whether it's everything is on its head or the slightest thing is, you will feel a sense of change to your routine. You might also, as we've talked in previous videos, have your sleep affected, have your eating patterns affected. These are all signs of change of the way you're working, of change that's going on. There are also some people who are in difficult circumstances. They're waiting on food parcels arriving from the food bank or from neighbours because they are ill and they are in isolation. There are people who are doing 12-week shielding to protect themselves because they are in a vulnerable group. These people are now relying on others in a way that they wouldn't have before, and that highlights vulnerability, and that's something different to your daily routine perhaps as well. You might be living with an abusive partner, or you might have child abuse going on in the house, or you might be the abusive partner, and now all of that risk is heightened because you are at home together for a much longer time, and with all of these other pressures going on. So your setting, that makes a big difference as well. Try and be thoughtful in your community. Are there people who are, very, very isolated normally, and you're out at work, so you might not know them, but, leaving a safe gift or a note, or for example, my neighbour and I, we are now writing silly dad jokes, and every so often I appear on the doorstep and there's one left for me by my elderly neighbour. So there's lots of things that you can do to help each other feel a little bit more connected. I feel that the connection is part of the loss chain. If you have a garden, then you have the access to relieve some mental health stress. You know, being in touch with nature, we know is a good thing. But not everybody does, and not everybody has a dog that they can walk or they can talk to. There are some people who are in the middle of this pandemic in a high-rise flat in an inner city, and they might be on their own, or they might be in a neighbourhood where they're frightened, or they might be in an abusive relationship in that setting. So there are lots of things going on around us, and every time we look at social media, which we should limit at times, and also with news, all of those things can have an impact into our mental health. So people don't always understand that what they're going through is having an effect on them. And I think that's something we all need to take into account at the moment. We need to have a look at, are we being kind to ourselves? Are we eating properly? Are we making sure that as much as possible there's some fresh fruit and veg involved in there? Keeping up dehydration levels. Make sure that you're drinking regularly. Try and have a look at your sleeping pattern. Again, because I've already done a video on sleep, and I hope that, you know, even if one person finds one little thing out of it that's helpful, that's why I did the video. And it's about where you can, if routine is your massive form of loss, instilling smaller routines to make you feel slightly grounded. And as always, my point of call, breathing. Have a look at how you're breathing. You know, are you feeling increased anxiety? Are you feeling depressed? You know, is there a sense of sadness in loss that's going on at the moment? You know, are you worrying about losing a loved one if they were to get ill? Are you worrying about how your loved one would cope if you were to get ill? Are you looking at, will I lose my job? Am I going to be furloughed? All of these different things. I would say try and narrow it down to the things that you can actually have an impact with. So if your boss decides to furlough you, worrying about it, I know that sounds simple, will not affect it or will not change it, but actually the worry will. The worry will have an impact on you. So look at your breathing, make sure your breathing is long, and occasionally just take time to be with yourself, to sit quietly, to feel grounded. Literally put your feet on the ground. If you have a back garden, you have a tiny patch of grass and it's safe and clean, put your bare feet onto the grass. Just sit and breathe. You know, go where you can. If you can only open your front door and walk through an inner city to get some exercise and do that, then make sure that if it's safe, you do. We're not driving to where we need to exercise. We are literally opening our front door. And that's about embracing where we are. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whatever it is, that's where we are. And at this moment, we cannot change it. But we can embrace it, and we can look at the bits that we can deal with, we can interact with, and self-care is one of those. And feeling vulnerable in these times, that's okay too. Look at being able to see all of this in your body as a strength because you're in connection with yourself. So that's part one of our video about loss. If you're feeling any of those things in this time, then drop some comments below. Subscribe to further videos. Get in touch, reach out there. There are people here, we're all in this together, and actually we are all experiencing very similar things, whether it's the whole thing or part of it. Nobody's alone. You might be physically alone, but if you have technology, which if you're looking at this video you will have, then look at the positive things that that brings. Don't use it to unsettle yourself with the news all day, every day. Check in with what you have to. Take control of the things that you can control. And one of those things is looking after yourself. So my name's Tina McDonald. Thank you ever so much for your time today. And please do engage. Leave some comments. Subscribe for further emails. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.